kids cardiac. Catch me in the muni where the party at. Dog pound, turn up with the elf up on my starter cap. Brought him back, boy, we from the land and we proud of that. Louder man, front to the back, here we go, I got him shouting that. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Here we go, brownies. Here we go, brownies. Stand up. Here we go, brownies. Let's go. Game on the line, Joe Thomas, I promise. Jim Brown running through opponents, how I got this. I return like Josh Cripps. Hand for the mini, got the dog pound jumping. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Here we go, brownies. Here we go, brownies. Stand up. Here we go, brownies. Let's go.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. I'm Allie Ellery, coming at you live from Pensacola, Florida. As always, joined with me out in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio, we've got Dustin. Wishing you all a very happy Wednesday. We're happy to be here and talk about your Cleveland Browns. Dustin, how's it going?
Well, Allie, Mother Nature decided to finally show up in Cleveland, Ohio today. It is officially patio season. But then I was like, man, I kind of feel like I'm home in Idaho. The forest fires of California, or of not California, but of Canada, have settled in over northern Ohio, so it's smoky here because of all the forest fires. I'm like, oh, this is like a regular summer for me, like, hot. But no, summer has been it's officially here. So a little bit of humidity, but things are good. Camp's heating up. Everybody's keeping micromanaging numbers of I have never seen anything like this in my life, but hey, it makes for good podcasting. It makes for good commentary. So we're going to get into it tonight. We have a lot to cover, and I know David's got some very interesting stuff to cover tonight in regards to the Browns and their staff with the on the health side of things. Yeah. So this will be a good show. Looking forward to it.
There is a lot to talk about as it pertains to your Cleveland Browns, but first and foremost, a quick word from our friends over at Mr. Hero.
SOS, I could use a hero right about now. My faith in love is upside down. H-E-R-O, where do we all go? SOS, I could use a hero right about now.
Mr. Hero's turning 60. We're proud to have served your favorite cravings for 60 years in celebrating what we do best. Thanks, Ohio.
I crave a hero.
Guys, that is our friends over at Mr. Hero, where they are celebrating their 60th anniversary of being in business. They have 104 locations in Northeast Ohio. And if you are looking to maybe start your own business, you want to be your own boss, head on over to MrHero.com for franchising information. But you just want some dinner, go check them out. Download the app. You can get a buy one, get one offer just for signing up. You get points, all of it. So please be sure to go check out our friends over at Mr. Hero.
And what else, Allie, do we have every week for those guys? The family 4-pack of free food for everybody that wants free food, doesn't want to cook, doesn't want to deal with all that. Just hit one of those 100-plus locations here in Northeast Ohio. Look for every week. We're feeding you free food for the family.
Before we get into it, one more quick thing. We do have a new sponsor that we're excited to share with you, and that's our friends over at Primetime Sports. Dustin, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more?
Yeah, so Primetime Sports, you guys, you see, it's my labor of love on the weekends. They do a lot of big signings. They've had, all these different basketball players, a lot of Cavs players, Dennis Rodman. For everybody that's a huge Buckeyes fan and is excited for that, that's going to be next Saturday in Hartville, Ohio, down there at the Hartville Flea Market. They're going to have Will Howard from 4 to 5 doing meet and greets and also autographs. So if you haven't had a chance to get your autograph of Will Howard, go down there and check that out. More signings from those guys. A bunch of Guardians will be doing a signing in June. So look for more information about that, including my favorite, Manzardo, who just happens to be from Idaho. So he's my fan favorite, Mr. Manzardo of the Guardians. So he's rocking that mustache, man. He rocks that mustache like nobody else. So
yeah, looks great. Let's get into the Browns. You mentioned this quarterback situation, how everybody is just overanalyzing the 3 or 4 clips that we get, out of OTAs, because as all of you know, we're not there. We can't be there. So we're just taking what we see off of Twitter and talking about it. So one thing that I want to make, pretty clear, and I think this is common sense. Everybody knows this. It's very hard to tell what is going on from the limitations that we have. We can't see much. I don't think that there's enough meaningful reps right now out of any of these guys to confidently determine who's going to be on this roster, on the final 53-man roster, and who won't be, or if they all will be. We don't know. It's all speculation. And I know a lot of these reporters are kind of running wild with it because this is an exciting time for Browns fans. We haven't had this. We haven't had this quarterback battle. And last week, Dustin, we talked about this is a true battle. Any one of these four guys can win this job. As of right now, it seems
100%.
It's not crazy to say that any one of them could be the starter week one. So I think it's a really interesting conversation because of how I think Kevin Stefanski is going to have to shape his practices and training camp for four quarterbacks, because none of them, it's impossible to essentially have them all have equal reps. That's not going to happen. So eventually this will kind of fall into, okay, this is who we think the quarterbacks are, kind of 1 through 4. But this is a really interesting thing. But Dustin, what are your thoughts on what we're seeing out of these guys?
Well, I think it's crazy. First of all, what I think about when I see this is like those people that are at basketball games, the statisticians sitting there literally taking there's a rebound, there's a foul. They're literally in real time dissecting every one of these four quarterbacks. And I'm like, man, that's the most OTA action we've seen of somebody carrying what somebody does in no pads, which really doesn't amount for anything. But what I find, here's what I really take interesting, and we brought this up on last week's show, and it's the fact that you have a very unique situation where you have a quarterback that was taken way too late when he was a first or second round latest projection. And you talk to these talking heads around the NFL, never have they seen a head coach or a coaching group let four quarterbacks get 11 on 11, or these guys get reps at 11. It's just absolutely unheard of. And they said they have a good and bad problem because of who they got and where they got them. They have to really now look at these guys and say, look, because to your point, Ali, any one of these guys can beat any one other guy out, including Joe Flacco, week one. You really need to get a real good litany test of all of these guys to go, you know what? This guy's a little bit better, and we're going to go with him week one, right? We're going to go with him week one because he's just a little bit better. Because you're right. At any given day, could Kenny Pickett beat out Joe Flacco? Yeah. Could Joe Flacco beat out Kenny Pickett? Could Shedeur Sanders go above Dylan Gabriel? Yes. Could Dylan Gabriel jump? That could all happen within 2 weeks in camp. Literally, that could happen in 2 weeks in camp. That's why I'm excited to watch this camp. And I think that's why all eyes in the NFL and every person's going to be in Berea over the summer to see how this pans out. But I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. I think the rubber's going to meet the road is when these guys come back in July and the pads are on and they're smacking and they're hitting and somebody's right in Shedeur's face or Joe Flacco's face, and you're sparring and you're doing drills with another team, another NFL team at camp. That's when we're really going to see these guys and what they're made of. But to everybody's point, and they're wanting to do it because it is good media, Shedeur Sanders is looking really good. I mean, he's looking the part and he's staying in there. And I kind of, looking back now, I kind of like that maybe he did land at the 5th round because he's got a chip on his shoulder and he's really laser focused. And I love, you probably saw this, what came out of him. And I don't know if you saw his dad made a comment this week, this is just garbage about what these front offices are saying. And this is more about me and what they're trying to punish me. But the fact that he said, because of the respect I have for Joe Flacco, if he wants me to clean out his locker and organize the locker, I will do it because I have respect for Joe Flacco, for the person he is and what he did in this league. The kid's doing everything right. You know what I mean? I just, and Ali, what's crazy is everything leading up to this was he's flashy. He has this, and it was all about, and it was like, NFL, get ready. This is the first class of NIL guys. I think we're a little behind the times a little bit and in a little old school, but this kid was raised right. Sorry, but this kid doesn't get in trouble. He's not been in trouble. and he's been a class citizen since he got to camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that you mentioned this is a good and bad problem to have, and this isn't really something the Browns have had to do. Of course, we can go back in time, and a lot of this we can play kind of, do some revisionist history, if you will, and say, if the Browns cut Baker, this, that, the other, the Deshaun Watson trade. But where we are right here, right now, is we've got 4 quarterbacks, 4 very inexpensive quarterbacks, if you will, all with a shot. And I think for the first time since the trade, honestly, there is hope back in Cleveland. I think the fans can buy into any one of these guys. You don't look at currently these group of 4 guys and think, oh, I can't root for this person. I mean, maybe, going into the draft, people would have said that about Shador Sanders. Ugh. But because of what you just said, the reputation he had because of his dad, not because of his own doing.
Right.
I think, we've already rooted for Joe Flacco, somebody that we hated in Baltimore. We are bracing ourselves to root for Kenny Pickett, somebody that we hated in Pittsburgh. And then you've got these 2 young guys with so much hope and promise, and an opportunity. You look at the rest of this roster and the way that it's constructed, you have a lot of veteran talent on this team. I mean, look at the receiving room. You've got you got Jerry Jeudy in there. He's a veteran. He wants to win. The defense as a whole, they all want to win. This is a pretty old offensive line. They want to win. Now, I know the Browns front office has maybe set a different tone in what they see for the window for this team to be. But on the field and the players that we are rooting for week in and week out, they want to be here. They want to win. And I think that you have 4 guys that any one of us can get behind right now.
Yeah, and what's interesting, Allie, I don't know if you saw what Pro Football Focus put out, and I was just kind of flabbergasted by it, but they put the Browns at number 32 for the worst roster in the National Football League.
Yeah.
And I was just curious what you make of that, because I'm thinking this is basically the same roster 2 years removed from the playoffs where they went 11-6 2 years ago. That just makes zero sense to me. Like, they would have us as the worst roster in the NFL. I can't. I mean, what do you make of that? Okay, give us maybe the 18th or the 20th or the 12th, but the 32nd. I mean, that doesn't even. There's guys that are Hall of Famers on this that are going to be future Hall of Famers on this. Like,
I would have been going into last season if you would have said, hey, this team is dead last. Like, this team is going to be awful. I would have said, you're crazy. How can that be possible with the team that we had going into last season? Right. But it was true. And it was. That's just the way it played out. But with this team, I think in every department, every room, every position group got better.
Right.
We're going to bring David on here in a little bit, and he's going to talk about some of the coaching staff within the strength and conditioning team. I think as a coaching staff as a whole got better. They're getting back to the identity that they had a couple of years ago, and we know what that's going to look like with Kevin Stefanski and what he wants to do offensively. I think this team got better. Now, I do not think this is going to be a top 10 team in the National Football League this season. I don't, because it depends on the quarterback. Now, if one of these 4 come out and just they have it, yeah, we've got the team to support that. We do. I'm trying to be a little cautious about getting there so far, but it all depends on the quarterback position. Every other position on this team either remained the same or got better. I don't think we got any worse at any group than we were a year ago.
And you know what's funny? When you look at this, and this is just us, and Allie, you probably feel the same way, as someone that roots for the Browns, the years you think they're going to be great, they disappoint. And the year that they are chosen to do crap, you're like, holy crap, where did those 10 wins come from? So you know what? Fine. Say we're only going to win 4 games this year. I'm all about it, because every time this team, remember the Sports Illustrated with Odell Beckham on it, the Browns are going to the Super Bowl, the super hype. And you said on this podcast, I hate that. I absolutely hate that for us, because they're going to get it in their stupid heads that they're better than that. Well, what does that do for the team? It puts a target on their back, and every team in the NFL is like, yeah, you think you're a Super Bowl team. Let's show you, right? And that's exactly what happened. So fine, put us at 4 wins. And if we get 8, 9, 10 wins, then we have a great future with 11 draft picks next year and 2 first rounders. We're well on our way into a good space salary cap wise. And I think we just saved $10 million if I'm right after the June 1st designation. We saved another $10 million. We might go after a wide receiver or something there now, June 1st designation. But this team is not 32 to me, not even close.
No, and look, I don't think, like I said, I don't think that we can put ourselves in a conversation of being a good football team. I still think that we're gonna have two decent draft picks in next year's draft class in the first round, but I can't tell you who I think we're gonna beat when we're looking at the schedule. I'm not there yet, but I mean, I would consider maybe taking the over. I think that maybe 5-6 wins isn't out of the realm of possibilities for this team. But you mentioned it, the years where you think they're going to be awful, they always come out and they surprise you.
Well, yeah, you're right. The lowest ceiling for this team is 4-6. The high is 8, 9, 10, right? Like that's kind of I think anybody would say that this team's not a 11, 12, 13 win team. If they get lucky, could they go 8 and 9, 9 and 8, right? I think that's kind of, middle of the road. But again, you're right. It's all going to depend on what happens at the quarterback position over the next couple of months. That's going to be the biggest telling factor for this team.
And if that doesn't happen, let's just say this team is dead last. I mean, you position yourself to have a number 1 overall draft pick next year and go get a quarterback. I mean,
maybe two top 10 picks.
Yeah,
because of Jackson.
I mean, I think we're all hoping that's not the case, and maybe you can hit on one of these guys. But in the event that you didn't, you've got another opportunity next year. But we are going to bring David on, the husband of the program, and talk about some of those moves on the coaching staff. Before we do so, here's a quick word from our friends over at Lorella Vineyards.
Here we go, Brownies Nation. Larry Lorella from Lorella Vineyards. Dustin Cook from Here We Go Brownies. We're here to talk a little bit about Here We Go Brownies wine. Dustin, let us know.
That's right, guys. The season wasn't what we wanted it to be, but the wine is amazing. Platinum winning, award winning wine. Here We Go Brownies wine. Come get it here at the winery or go to lorellavineyards.com. And remember, a portion of every single one of these bottles goes to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank to help those that are in need and hungry. That's right. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
Woof, woof.
All right, let's bring him on. Dr. David Ullery. This is the medical moment brought to you by our friends over at Lorella Vineyards. He's the husband of the program. Hi, David.
Hello, Allie. Hello, Dustin.
David, how are you, doctor? How's your evening treating you?
I'm great. I'm just sore. Allie and I are working out with a new program. We actually use ChatGPT to make our program. It's a nice little 4-week mix of conditioning and strength training, and it is kicking our butts.
Well, I did the Cleveland 5K a week or two ago. I'm doing another 5K this weekend. It's the Cleveland Dog Society. Like all the proceeds go to help the animal shelter, for adopting dogs, which I thought was super cool. Nice. My goal is to do 7 more 5Ks before the end of the year. I'm down almost. Allie, I'm under 200 pounds now, so I've lost almost 28 pounds now. So
That's great.
That's awesome.
I got 15 more to go. 15 more to go. So
would 7 more 5Ks get you to double digits? Is that what you're going for? 10?
Well, realistically, because it gets cold here and stuff like that, I think I can make it up through the turkey trot, whatever that run is in November. I don't know if I'm going to be all about the Christmas run, but
you can do it.
So what's really cool is all these. For me, it's all about the medals, and everybody knows it is. But the rock and roll. Well, because you get these cool, awesome medals, right? So
for sure.
So the rock and roll one has a guitar, it's a guitar, right? And so all these medals are really cool medals, and so it's kind of an accomplishment. But my goal is to get down around 10-minute mile. Is really at the end of the day if I do a 10-minute mile. So
that's awesome.
I'm a little under 12 now, but I hear Allie loves to run. Just kidding. I know she hates running.
Nope, she's not doing that. She's not doing all that.
David, we're cheering you on, man. Good luck with all that.
Thank you.
We're here talking about health and wellness, and I want to talk about the Browns. They've made some moves, David, with their coaching staff, with strength conditioning. I want to turn it over to you just to kind of go through that, maybe what that will mean for this team going forward.
Yeah. 2 things I want to touch on. I want to touch on that, and then I want to continue our series of kind of looking at injury predictions for position groups. I'm going to start with that actually because it's a pretty quick one today. I looked at tight ends, and on Draft Sharks, they actually only have 1 tight end listed from the Browns depth chart, even though there are 4. They don't have rookies on there, and then the other 2 are just too much of like fringe players from the list and get data on. But so Njoku is the only one listed. His overall risk for an injury this season is a medium risk. He's been in the league for 9 years now with a number of career injuries, a total number of 7 career injuries. So less than 1 per season, which is pretty good at average of 0.9 rounding up. Overall, his season probability of having an injury, though, is 51% according to Draft Shark, and that is the highest of any player we've looked at so far, including Deshaun Watson. Again, these numbers could be skewed. We got to do a little more homework on that. And then the per game probability of an injury is about 4%. Again, the highest we've seen. And they're predicting him to miss a total of 1.4 games this season, higher than anybody else we've looked at so far, which is a little surprising because, 7 injuries in 9 seasons, fairly durable, big, tough, strong guy. So hopefully those numbers do not pan out to what they are predicting throughout the season. But just another interesting look at that. And again, these are all just numbers that we are kind of looking at, taking from a website, not making up ourselves, and using as a tool to evaluate at the end of the season. But moving on from that. So yeah, Browns announced some new hires and promotions to their health and performance staff this week. Number of promotions, there's 3 of them. Pat Rock has been promoted to the head athletic trainer. Kelsey Fahey promoted to director of performance nutrition, and Gordon Williams promoted to health and performance operations coordinator. And then they have 6 new hires. Ryan Curtis, who is the director of health and performance innovation. Keenan Robinson, manager of recovery services. Matt Hobbs and Stephen Best, who are performance therapists. Grace Kennedy, assistant of performance nutrition. And Jeremy Portillo, performance science fellow. So I'm actually pretty excited about this. That might be, a little bit of a nerd, a little nuanced thing for me, just because this is kind of right up my alley. And also that's my alley. So just kind of, sorry about that. Sorry, that's terrible. It's great. It's terrible. It's funny. We love love. We love love. So getting into this, I'm pretty excited about this. I think this is a sign that the Browns are really taking health, performance, recovery, nutrition very seriously. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate that. They really are looking into finding a way to optimize this team's performance, this team's recovery, and this team's ability to play a 17 plus game season as long as they make it into the playoffs and beyond. And so there's a lot of exciting hires and promotions here that I think really speak towards what they're looking to do. Some of the highlights I want to point out. So with Pat Rock, who is now the head athletic trainer, promoted from within, started with the Browns as an athletic training summer intern in 2014 and has climbed his way through the organization to now be the head athletic trainer over the last 11 years. That's pretty cool. He leads the whole team of trainers and physical therapists and coordinates them, as well as the team physicians, including James Voos from University Hospitals, who is the head team physician, as well as the president of the NFL Physicians Society. So, I mean, they've got some good guys in their corner in terms of health and well-being for these players. And I think that's important, especially when we see what's happened over the last 2 years and just the injuries that have plagued this team. Now, that's not to say that the previous regime of, these health and performance experts weren't doing their job or weren't doing a good job. Sometimes injuries happen no matter how much prevention you take. But it's clear that the organization felt they wanted to go in a different direction and make some changes just to see if maybe they can improve all of these aspects of the team. And so Pat Rock is a certified athletic trainer and certified strength and conditioning specialist, earned his bachelor's degree from Drew University, where he played baseball, and then master's degree in athletic training from Seton Hall. Kelsey Fahey, the director of performance nutrition, oversees nutrition services, which includes directing culinary programs for players, creating personalized fueling and supplementation plans, consulting on body composition plans, and providing education on supplements and hydration. And I want to kind of loop in with that what we've seen from DeJuan Jones. I don't know if you guys saw the pictures going around and the news about him, but it is evident that he has taken his role very seriously and has shed some pretty significant pounds in the offseason, and he is looking great. That picture of him standing up in front of the press conference is pretty awesome. He looks trim. He looks a little bit more lean and athletic, and I think that's going to go a long way for a man of his size. Obviously, like, you think about offensive linemen, you want to think about these slobs, these hog mollies, who are just these big old humans who are just there to kind of stand in the way. But he wants to play left tackle, and he's got to be mobile. He's got to be able to be quick on his feet. And I don't think losing that amount of weight is really going to impact his ability to still push guys around. losing that weight will be better for his knees, better for his ankles. And we already know he has a knee problem. And so if you can take some stress off those knees, I think that's going to help his longevity and durability. And then when he does put on more weight, it can be lean muscle, which will make him stronger and kind of rebuild the ability to push guys around and be a bully on the offensive line. So I'm actually very excited about this. I think it's a sign of him maturing and recognizing the need to take some accountability of his own health and fitness and conditioning to be a hopefully long-time starting left tackle in the NFL. So Kelsey Fahey probably had a direct hand in doing that for DeJuan, and I'm excited about that. She got her bachelor's degree from Minnesota and a master's degree in kinesiology and exercise science. And what I think is really cool is that as I go through these highlights, all of these new hires and individuals, they have a lot of crossover, whether it's in athletic training, whether it's in kinesiology and sports science, whether it's in nutrition. And so there's going to be a nice like interdisciplinary connection between all these individuals so that they can put their heads together and come up with the best plan for these teams. Gordon Williams is in his 16th year with the Browns. He's now the health and performance operations coordinator. He is going to be the head. He's serving as kind of this new manager of health and performance operations. He's been with the team, like I said, for 16 years. Prior to that, with the Eagles. And he's an Ohio guy, got a MBA from Findlay. Ryan Curtis, new hire, director of health and performance innovation. He was previously with the San Antonio Spurs as the director of sports science. So it's kind of cool getting some crossover from a different professional league. Maybe a good sign, just because one of the Spurs have kind of had a very long tenured success within the NBA, and a lot of that comes from the health of the players. So I'm excited to see what he can bring to the team. Keenan Robinson, manager of recovery services, comes from Olympic sport, where he was the director of sports science and medicine for USA Swimming. This one, I think I'm the most excited about. So again, manager of recovery services, and he was with Olympic sport for, I think, like 12, 15 years. And if you know anything about US swimming, it has been extremely successful over the last 2 or 3 decades. In fact, he's coached over 100 individual Olympic medals, including Michael Phelps. And so if there's anybody who has any idea and kind of knowledge on how you preserve a professional athlete's career over the time of 5, 10, 15 years, it's this guy. I mean, he helps multiple athletes perform in 3 different Olympic sports, or 3 different Olympic cycles, if you will. So 12 years winning medals. So I'm most excited about him and his role within recovery, because I think that can really help this whole Browns organization. And then just a couple of the other hires, Matt Hobbs and Stephen Best as performance therapists. Excited about those guys just because a lot of crossover. Hobbs was with Nebraska football prior to coming here, and he's an Olympic weightlifter. And then Stephen Best came from Rutgers as well as Pittsburgh. And so, again, a lot of crossover between other guys. And then Grace Kennedy, he comes from Philadelphia last year as the performance nutrition seasonal associate. So he's got some experience with a Super Bowl winning team, which I think can only provide to this group of individuals. And then finally, Jeremy Portillo, the performance science fellow, is actually coming from Middlesex University in the UK. And he is the team's first performance science fellow. So not only are they focused on bettering this team, but they're also focused on education and, training the next generation of sports and health scientists in professional sports. And I know that's a lot of kind of nerd talk, and maybe I got lost in the weeds there, but I'm really excited about this and think this is a really good sign of what the Browns are doing to better their team and better the health of their players.
Oh, let's just highlight this picture. I mean, look at this. This is DeJuan Jones.
Doesn't even look like the same guy.
It doesn't even look like the same guy. And I mean, one, we know that he is coming off of knee surgery from a year ago. And I think we all could kind of figure out that, hey, if you're maintaining that amount of weight in the National Football League, you are going to battle through injuries. But seeing him much trimmer makes you feel really, really good about going into this season in this offensive line. This is a little bit off topic, but it kind of hammers the point that you made, David, about how this team wants to get, just get right, have the right mentality going into the season. And they're kind of changing the way that they do everything. As you can tell from all of these changes, I just want to read a quote from Joel Bitonio. Now, this is more or less, he was asked more or less about the offensive identity that they want to have. But a lot of what he says falls true in this conversation as well. He says, overall, I think we had the wrong mentality last year. I think Coach Stefanski has already stressed the toughness that we need to bring back, how practice is going to be. I think rookie minicamp and the OTAs have already kind of picked up that tempo. We're not resting on any laurels, playoffs, or anything like that. It's a new team. We have to establish our standard in that and what we want the Browns to be. And I think with this huge kind of overhaul with this staff, it really reflects that and who this team is going to be. We questioned, I hate to say that we did this, but we questioned the toughness of this team last year. And we questioned whether or not they had the right individuals in these positions from a strength and conditioning standpoint because of the injury history that this team has endured over the past 2 to 3 seasons. So I am optimistic to see these changes, David.
Yeah, and I have a question along those lines, and I can't remember, but we went over this. It was a few months back. If I remember correctly, what the players gave as a grade for the Browns' food/nutrition and health was a poor grade. If I remember right, it wasn't a very good grade, and I wonder if some of that is some of what we're seeing of people being let go and new staff being put in, if that's a cause and effect as well of what the athletes themselves said about their conditioning, nutrition, health, food, because I don't think it got a very high grade.
Yep, here I got you right here. So they received a C+ for a nutritionist and dietitian, which was 23rd overall in the league. 82% of the players feel like they get an individualized plan, which is 19th overall. So, I mean, even though that's 82%, which is seemingly a high number of players getting an individualized plan, it still ranks 19th overall in the league. And so if you're 19th overall in the league, you are below that middle line, you are below average. And I think that's going to play a big role as well. With food and cafeteria, it was C+, ranked 18th overall. Food taste and freshness were both 19th. And let's see, what else? So those were the two big things. Locker room, that doesn't. Training room, so training room C+, training staff B-, strength coaches B+. And so some of those kind of, there's a little bit of overlap there. Some of those are a little bit different in terms of what we're talking about here. But either way, like we said, C+, ranking 23rd out of 32 for nutritionist and dietitian, and 82% score, 17th overall for personalized meal plans. And so that was, that was conducted at the end of last year or early this year in February is when that report card came out. And so that's, 4 months ago now. And it's clear that the organization listened to it. I mean, that is a player survey, a player driven response put on by the NFLPA. And for the Browns organization and leadership to hear that, see that, and then do a direct overhaul of the staff that runs that, I mean, that's a sign of buy-in. That's a sign of respect for these players, respect for their opinions. And honestly, I think a really good sign of the health of this organization or the direction that the health is headed in. Obviously every NFL team is a professional organization, but we know some of these teams kind of joke around and mess around and just make really weird and strange decisions. The Browns not immune to that with what we've dealt with at quarterback over the last 3 years. And so seeing them kind of stepping up, making a decision and a change based on what the players directly said, I think honestly was very encouraging. And, I think is a good reason for, fans and players themselves to have hope about where this team's going and what they're going to do.
Yeah, David, sorry, not to change the topic here, but really need to help Larry. He needs a prescription to help about Nick Chubb. Sorry, Dustin. I mean,
it's funny. I was just gonna candidly, you being a doctor, I wouldn't want a doctor that got a C in medical school doing surgery on me, right? like at the end of the day, I would want the best doctor or the best people or the best nutritionists that are training my body. And the first where I go with this is we know, for instance, like LeBron James spends millions of dollars a year on his health and nutrition to keep his body right to be at the top level so he can play basketball every year at 40 years old, right? So again, same thing. If you're getting a C, that means you're just getting by, right? You're kind of like, we're just doing the bare minimums is how I look at that. Like, hey, yeah, you got a nutritionist plan. If you're DeJuan Jones, we know you're a big guy, but you're, just go do your thing. Like, I just feel like you're just doing the bare minimum. That's what a C is, right? at the end of the day, it's the bare minimum. So
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, kind of just referencing LeBron James and his ability to play in the league for 20 plus years now. You look at the greats. I mean, the true, I don't love the term GOAT anymore because I think it's overused, but the true greatest in their sports. LeBron James, still going, spends millions of dollars a year on his body. Tom Brady played it until the age of 45, 23 seasons in the NFL as a quarterback, and won a Super Bowl not that long ago. Again, millions of dollars poured into his body, his recovery, and his ability to perform every single year. And I mean, he has a business based off of that. And so I think everybody is starting to recognize the importance of nutrition and recovery. And
Mhm.
I think the Browns are buying into that. And I think hopefully this year we can see that pay off in the sense of less injuries and less missed time for our stars and favorite players.
Well, I think anytime, personally, professionally, whatever, you invest in yourself, only good things will come of that. And to see that the Browns are doing that, it's only going to pay off. Totally off topic here, but I want to address this with David on the show, just because, David, we were just talking about this. George asked, how do you feel about Jedrick Wills? We were just talking about the whole Jed Will situation and how it's come out now that he's saying he wants to basically take a year off just to get right. He played very few games last year. David, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. He didn't have anything structurally wrong in his knee, correct?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't cut you off.
No. I just my point with this, and this is what we were talking about the other night, is I think the NFL has probably seen the last of Jedrick Wills. We probably won't see a lot out of him in the future. So I just want to turn it over to you on him planning to sit out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't know him on a personal level. We don't know all of his motivations and all of his reasons behind it. But I mean, ultimately, he did have, an injury to one of his ligaments in his knee. And in 2023, he injured his MCL, opted for surgery, and missed 9 games, and then missed 12 more the following season, kind of as I guess, lingering continuation of that injury. And so, while maybe it wasn't structural in the sense that meniscus or ACL, one of the more primary things, was torn. I mean, the MCL is still a very important stabilizing ligament for linemen, but he had it surgically repaired. And as far as we know, it was never re-injured or was never really re-damaged, and it healed as far as we know. But either way, I think that's still kind of the knee injury that is continuing to be lingering, at least that he's referring to and referencing to. And so, again, it's a lot of speculation for him at this point. But I mean, 10th overall pick out of Alabama, from a place that has a really, really great pedigree for offensive linemen. You have to question if there are other factors that are motivating him to make this decision and to sit out an entire season. Because I mean, frankly, if missing, 9 or 10 games last season after having a surgery in 2023 didn't get him to the right place for his knee, I don't think another season is going to do that either. At this point, the healing potential, the healing that could have or should have taken place already has. And so it may be more of a indication of something else in terms of this decision.
In almost every example for NFL players, whether they're choosing to sit out for health-related reasons, contract dispute, whatever, sitting out is typically never really a good thing. Or choosing not to play, not sitting out necessarily, but choosing not to participate and be on a team is typically doesn't bode well for that player. But that's really all we know about the situation.
Yeah, I just want to add an interesting note to that. He wasn't getting any action from any other teams to want to sign him either. So to me, that was more of the deafening thing. Like, is he just sitting out because he ain't getting any action, and he's using that as a statement to heal his body? Because here's the thing. If people wanted him, the Browns didn't re-sign him. So he was available to go to another team. And I think, to me, that's more the deafening thing, that there wasn't another team that even gave him a look, at the end of the day. So,
well, and Joe says here, if it was maybe mental health related, and if that is the case, then by all means, I hope that he, takes time to get that right.
Yeah.
But that's what we know on Jedrick Wills. But David, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Of
Go
course,
Browns.
go Browns.
Go Browns.
That is the medical moment brought to you by our friends over at Lorello Vineyards, Dr. David Ullery. All right, Dustin, let's move on. I want to talk.
As I say, can I do the quick talk about the tickets real quick? Can we do that? And just,
do it.
yeah. So, guys, Here We Go Brownies is going to be a part of the National High School Football Hall of Fame next Friday and Saturday night. But Saturday night is the third annual induction. So drop in the comments if you guys would like a ticket. I have a stack of tickets. What's really cool about that is you get to see some Browns and some other NFL legends. Just going to name a few here: Steve Atwater, Charlie Batch, Jerry Butler, Michael Vick, Tim Couch, Tom Cousineau, Hanford Dixon, Cornelius Green, Craig James, Eric Metcalf, Lewis Riddick. The list goes on and on, but an awesome opportunity down in Canton Saturday night. So if you would like some tickets to take you and your friends, family, or children, very cool third annual National High School Football Hall of Fame. We're just giving some tickets away. And we're excited to be a part of that and do interviews with those guys down there in Canton, the home of pro football.
Yes. We also want to talk to you about our friends over at Stadium Mustard. Guys, if you don't have Stadium Mustard in your kitchen this season, you're doing it wrong. The iconic brand, the iconic taste, beloved from ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between. Stadium Mustard is a smooth brown mustard, rich in both taste and tradition. By the way, it's loved by millions. So be sure to head on over to stadiummustard.com to shop now. Dustin, what do you have next to you? Is that a bottle of whiskey?
This is before my time in Cleveland, but at one time the Cleveland Cuyahoga River caught on fire, hence the Burning River. So this is Burning River cinnamon whiskey from our great friends over at Lake Erie Distillery in Willoughby, Ohio. By the way, I made a little concoction tonight. I took some ginger ale and mixed it with the cinnamon whiskey, and let me tell you, that is absolutely delightful. I did some zero sugar ginger, but I mean, that is delightful. The ginger with the cinnamon, that is a nice cocktail. But they have whiskey, they have rum, they have an amazing selection. But you guys check them out. You can get them in any of your local liquor stores here in Northeast Ohio, over 150 locations. So if you can't find it, ask for it at your local bar or restaurant. But go and find it. Go look at them online at lakeeriedistillery.com, and then they will have a list of where you can go get their liquor products in any of the liquor stores here in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, there you have it. I want to go around the AFC North, Dustin, and I want to just take a look at who these teams have drafted and maybe some acquisitions, free agents, maybe some significant losses that they've had, and just kind of maybe predict a little bit. Will they be better or worse than they were last year? And how do the Browns stack up? So we're just kind of going to quickly go through this. I don't have the entire depth chart pulled up. Maybe that's an episode for another day, but I want to start by just taking a deeper dive into our, the competitors that we're going to see twice a year. So let's start with the Steelers. So I want to go through who they've added. Through the draft, Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle, Caleb Johnson, the running back, who I think is going to be very good, Jack Sawyer, Ohio State, Yaya Black, the defensive end, and Will Howard. Now, some free agents that they brought in was Montana, Phineas Craig, Nick Brooker, the guard. They did go ahead and cut Larry Ogunjobi and Preston Smith. So that's the Steelers. I think that the Steelers kind of had a sneaky good draft class. I think Derek Harmon is going to be, when I look at the Steelers and classically who they are to their identity, they always have a good defense. They always have, and I think that they probably always will. To get Derek Harmon and have Jack Sawyer and Yaya Black all additions to that defensive line. Want to replace Larry Ogunjobi. I think the defense got better. Offensively, though, I'm not sure that they're any better than they were a year ago.
I don't think they're a better team, period. I know they had a decent draft. I think they're going to be worse. This fiasco with Aaron Rodgers has split the locker room, which is a terrible thing to do. I don't know what the hell Mike Tomlin's doing. Now, of course, smoke and mirrors, you don't know what to believe coming out of rumors in the NFL. But Mike Tomlin was pretty adamant about bringing Aaron Rodgers in, but Aaron Rodgers, I guess, is going to just hang out till he decides what he wants to do in life, which it's going to be a problem. Anytime you have off-season distractions with your football team, we all know that is not a good thing for your franchise. So I see this. I think this is Mike Tomlin's first losing season, period. I think this will be 8-9, 7
said
and
we got
yeah.
this comment also.
First losing. Okay, there it is. So
There you
I'm
go.
going to say 8-9, 7-10. And here's the thing: everybody talks about the Browns' strength of schedule and how tough it is. The Pittsburgh Steelers have to play the same division and the same teams that the Cleveland Browns do, and they didn't significantly get their roster better. They got better like we did in the draft, but they didn't get significantly better and go out and shock the world. I mean, they did go get a wide receiver that I don't know who the hell's going to throw to him. I mean, how long is he going to be happy? I mean, how long is that guy going to be happy, right? I mean, you could have an OBJ situation meltdown, week 8 with them going, okay, you drafted me, but who the hell's throwing me the ball? And by the way, I came here with the expectations of whatever. So I don't know what the hell they're doing in Pittsburgh, but hey, sign me up for it all day long. I love when the Pittsburgh Steelers don't know what the hell they're doing. So
Yeah, I do think that if anything, they got worse than they were a year ago, and that's totally based off of the quarterback situation. I think that's a huge miss for them. Like I like Will Howard, I do. I just think that they should have been more aggressive. I'm glad that they weren't though, but looking at them defensively, I think they're going to be consistent with who they were, but I don't think that they got any better. They either remained the same or they got a little bit worse. Now, let's talk about the Ravens. Before we get into who they drafted, because they had a pretty big draft class, they brought in DeAndre Hopkins, the linebacker Jake Hummel. They brought in Cooper Rush, the quarterback out of Dallas, Chidobe Awuzie, and John Jenkins. Now, they also re-signed Ronnie Stanley and Tylan Wallace, Patrick Ricard, Ben Cleveland. So they re-signed a couple of guys on the offensive line. That's pretty significant. They got rid of Justin Tucker, as we all know, and then the corner Arthur Mollett. Now that is just what they did outside of the draft.
And extended Derrick Henry's contract as well in the process, 2-year deal. Yeah.
Yes, they did. Pretty big draft class for the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah. So their first pick, Malachi Starks, the safety. Then they went Mike Green, the linebacker or defensive end out of Marshall. Offensive tackle Emory Jones, linebacker Teddy Buchanan, tackle Carson Vinson, kicker Tyler Loop, wide receiver LeJohntay Wester, defensive tackle Aeneas Peebles, cornerback Robert Longerbeam, and guard Garrett Dellinger. Look, I think the Ravens got better. I do. And they were a damn good team last year. I think that they got better. Right. They beefed up their offensive line. They beefed up the defense, linebacker. I think probably the biggest thing for them is what are they doing at receiver? Yes, they brought in DeAndre Hopkins. We know that they have Zay Flowers, but it's not always been a very kind of a premier receiver destination in Baltimore. That's not who they are offensively, and I think that will continue to be one of their biggest weaknesses. But overall, I do think the Ravens got better, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately they did, and with the extension of Derrick Henry for 2 years, we're gonna have to deal with that beast of a running back for the next 2 years. Yeah, I do think they got better, and in some ways, as much as I hate to say this, just because I don't think Lamar hasn't proved it to me in the playoffs. They've always been a great regular season team. But this could be the best team in the AFC that's crazy to say, but maybe not. But could they beat the Chiefs? Yeah. Could they beat the Bills? Yeah. Can they beat the Bengals? Absolutely. So they, I think, could be that team. Unfortunately, I'm saying it on a Browns podcast, but could they be in the Super Bowl? Hell yeah. This team is loaded. And, it's those teams that you see that just keep getting a little better and a little better. And the Ravens are that team, they're not getting knocked out in the first round. Now they're making it to the championship. They're getting better every year and getting more confidence and getting deeper into the playoffs. And this could be the year that they crack it. So unfortunately, they're going to be a tough out for anybody, including the Browns this year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, most definitely. I think they got better, and the Ravens they always draft well. They always do. So I think that they got better. Let's talk about the Bengals before we talk about their who they drafted. Talk about their additions. They re-signed the tight end Mike Gesicki, brought in tight end Tanner Hudson, or signing tight end Tanner Hudson, and then getting into the cuts, Alex Kappa, the guard, and defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins. So I want to talk quickly. Let me pull up their the draft. Their first overall selection, Shamar Stewart, who has been holding out. Contract situation, not great with your number one pick. Then they went linebacker Demetrius Knight out of South Carolina, Dylan Fairchild, the guard out of Georgia, linebacker Barrett Carter out of Clemson, guard Jalen Rivers out of Miami, and running back Taj Brooks out of Texas Tech. I don't think the Bengals got any better. I don't. I think defensively they took a big hit. Now I know that they drafted, their first pick, Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M, the defensive end. He didn't have a ton of production at A&M, but I understand he's got a high upside. But now with the contract dispute, it's a pretty ugly situation, and of course you have the whole Trey Hendrickson situation. Definitely some turmoil on the defensive side of the ball. They get 2 linebackers. Now I know that's who they like to be, kind of have an aggressive front. Offensively, we know what they have. They've got Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase, and that's all they need. But I don't think that they got any better than they were a year ago.
Okay, first and foremost, what they did with those 3 players, with Joe Burrow and those 3 guys, and basically threw their entire budget. Like we know this, like in a company or whatever, when you throw your entire budget at one thing, other parts of your company are going to suffer. I don't know what they're going to do on defense. Like, this is going to be a gaping hole for this team where I feel like Joe Burrow is going to have to put 35, 40 points up a game to win games for them this year. And it's very odd that you're having these holdouts with guys you drafted 3 or 4 years ago, in addition to your new guys. What the hell is happening in that building to where agents must know, or there must be something going on to see these type of holdouts? And then for Henderson to speak very vocally outspoken about how frustrated he is with this front office. Like, and is that getting wind to the new guys? Like, hold out because you may not get paid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's something weird going on with the Bengals. And so I could see the Bengals being a 9-8 team, right? 9-8. If they, or they're 8-9, the opposite, 10 ceiling, and worst, maybe 6 to 7 wins. I think Joe Burrow is going to be under duress to just have to win every single game on his back. And, that doesn't, we know this in this league. If your quarterback is passing the ball 40 or 50 times, you're probably losing that football game. Like, we know that, right? Like, that's not a well-balanced team. And when you're throwing the ball that much, and I just feel it's not good. I mean, I don't know what they're doing in Green Bay or in Cincinnati, but sign me up for it. I'm keep it up.
I think the Bengals every week will go out and, I mean, like James said in the comments here, they'll go out and they'll put up 70 points, but they'll also give up 70 points. Right. So that's hard. Right. And that's exhausting for Joe Burrow. Now, I think Joe Burrow is a very talented quarterback, but if he's got to put out that kind of production behind a not so great offensive line, I mean, it's a recipe for disaster for him as the player. So, that's just kind of the situation. Bonnie says here that Sheila always watched and she'll watch in memory of her. Well, thank you, Bonnie, for joining us. We appreciate it. All right, Dustin, I know we've got to kind of button things up here, but if you don't mind telling our listeners about Lady Caroline cruise ship, what's going on there?
Yeah, guys, we are looking forward to putting a Here We Go Brownies lunch cruise together. We don't have the date yet, but look for that, the Here We Go Brownies cruise, to join us for lunch. But if you want to book it for your friends, your family, company parties, they're doing a country cruise this weekend, which is kind of cool for country music lovers. But if you're in Cleveland or coming to visit Cleveland and you want to take a couple hours out on the lake and have lunch or dinner, go do it. It's a lot of fun. Or if you're looking for something to do over the weekend, come down and check out Lady Caroline. And by the way, that's right, the Greater Cleveland Aquarium is right next door. So you can go in and check all the great exhibits. They have hundreds of exhibits, including the Shark Tank. Stay tuned for that live from the Shark Tank at some point this summer for me to go down there and check that out. But look for thinking summer's going to be all about giveaways with the Here We Go Brownies podcast. We're going to be giving away more tickets to the Greater Cleveland Aquarium. Also, we have a $100 gift card for Lady Caroline. That's a big package for $100 to take some people out on that. and then a family pack for an entire year to go anytime you want for an entire year for your family to the Greater Cleveland Aquarium. So how cool is that? You can go as many times as you want for a year. So look for those great prizes coming up very, very soon.
Yeah. Also, we want to tell you about our friends over at City Barbecue. If you're wondering what you should have for lunch or dinner, or maybe you need an event catered, head on over to City Barbecue. They've got award-winning meat, award-winning sides, and award-winning sauces. So please be sure to check them out. They can cater your event. Maybe you're doing a bridal shower or a corporate event. They can handle that, or just pop in for a nice, easy lunch if you don't feel like cooking. So please be sure to check them out.
Speaking of that, Allie, you'll appreciate this. So our friend of the program with A&D Media LLC, Stump Mitchell, next Friday, and Hanford Dixon are doing a camp for kids down in Dover. If you know where Dover, Ohio is, you probably know where that is down there.
I am from right down the road. Yes, I do know where Dover, Ohio is.
So I'll be close enough to Magnolia that I can actually figure out where this town is.
You will, depending on which way you're going, you may go through Magnolia. Now you'll be on 77.
Okay.
You won't go through.
I'm gonna take a picture. Now wait, hang on. Magnolia is where does your grandmother still have a restaurant there?
She does in Minerva, which is also not too far.
Okay. So long story short, I'm going to be down there helping our friends Hanford Dixon, Top Dog, and Stump Mitchell. They're doing a camp for kids, and our great friends at City Barbecue are going to supply all the volunteers with some amazing City Barbecue. And I just wanted to shout this out. I'm a big fan of this, but for summer, City Barbecue is bringing burnt ends to the menu. I love burnt ends. I mean, that is one of my favorites when it comes to barbecue. So make sure you get those when you visit City Barbecue this summer. The burnt ends, the best. I mean, that's the best part of barbecue is the burnt ends. But I'm biased. So that's my favorite.
Let's before we wrap up, just one more quick thing to talk about with this Browns team. Joel Bitonio was in front of the media, and he came out and said to basically expect the Browns to get back to this wide zone pin pull kind of scheme, basically who they were early when Kevin came to Cleveland. He said we've got, it's no secret that the offensive line is a little bit older, but this is the kind of offense that all of them thrive in. You've got a great pulling guard in Wyatt Teller. I mean, you've got, hey, if Thanos can pan out, you've got a great left tackle, the size, the athleticism there. Joel with his veteran presence, he's kind of seen it all. And Jack Conklin, who's one of the best wide zone tackles in the National Football League. And then Ethan Posick, who can do it all, is what he said. What do you make of the Browns getting back to that offensive identity? Are you excited to see this, Dustin? What do you think?
I love it. That's when the Browns had the most success. I mean, that goes back to our playoff run with Baker Mayfield and that kind of offense. I'm 100% for that. And I think we get back to our identity, right? At the end of the day, I think we kind of lost our identity. We talked about this prior to that in this podcast about, I'm trying to think of the word now. You haven't used it in a hot minute, but what was the word that you would always use? Alignment, right? Yeah. So I feel like this team is getting back to some alignment to who they really were and who they were. Well, just be quite honest. To your point, we were a player away from being in the AFC Championship game. So I like where we're going with this. Coach Stefanski was in the office or in the 92.3 The Fan 6 weeks ago, and he brought mention of this. We're going to go back to the identity of who we are as a football team. I think he feels very good about this too, and very comfortable where this team is going. And he has a very clear, you can tell, laser focus idea of where he wants to go. So,
I mean, that is who kind of the core of this team's success comes from that. And that's where Kevin's been at his best. That's where this team has been at their best. And, we've had one of the best defenses in the National Football League just a few years ago. And they were good because the offense was efficient. They weren't out there. The defense didn't have to be out there 80% of the game like they were last season. So to be able to just go out there and win at the line of scrimmage and kind of eat the clock. And I think that they can do that with Quinshon Judkins. They can do that. They can play efficient offensive football. That's really going to bode well for this defense. And kind of goes back to our point of how we think this team can have over 4 wins this season. Also, Because we do want to give you or tell you about our friends over at True Fan Travel. Think of them as your ultimate sports road trip buddy. They're all about bringing you closer to the heart-pounding action of your favorite away games, whether you're cheering from the stands or soaking in the local vibes. They make sure every trip is packed with those I was there moments. So if you're thinking about heading over to the London game, be sure to check them out over at True Fan Travel.
Yeah, and also they're going to be doing a bus trip to Detroit for Browns fans, and also Las Vegas 2.0 is going to be happening again. We're going to be going back out to Las Vegas. And then a big shout out to our friends over at We Bleed Ohio, guys. Check out, we're going to be dropping some gear and some sale prices on some of that We Bleed Ohio gear. That will be our Here We Go Brownies, but they have some new cool drops for baseball, basketball, and football design. So check those guys out. We're at We Bleed Ohio. And just like that, the hour is up, Allie. Bam, look at that.
There it is. There it is. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Sincerely, we appreciate it. Stay safe, stay healthy. And as always, Browns fans, go Browns.
Go Browns.